the dial, turn it loud. Miami's pride, make us proud. CanesWear crew, you hear the crowd. Hurricanes ain't backing down. Every play, every score, raising bets and raising roar. Rocking orange, green galore. All for one and one for four. We got FTSN, taking names, win it again. Podcast fam, till the end. Tune in, now let's begin.
Well, we are here live today on Tuesday night, October 1st. So that means 3/4 of the year is finished, Brad. 3/4 of the year. We've been through January, through September. And for the first time since 2017, the Miami Hurricanes are undefeated and standing at 5-0. And Brad, I know you have to agree with me here. That was a stressful game. I know Brad's going to say I wasn't sweating it at all, but he'll share with that. But I'll tell you, sitting there, I was on the other side of the field, but this the whole fourth quarter, it was just so surreal. Everything was in slow motion. I'm like, are we really going to go through this again? Am I reliving Georgia Tech again? Oh. I mean, what's going on? And then Cam is just a different person. He led us down the field. He got us where we want. Xavier with the amazing catch will cover all this. I mean, the amazing pitch to Riley Williams. We score a touchdown, and then they drive. We all know what's going to happen. It's going to be a last-second Hail Mary pass. Something's going to happen. Is it going to be the typical Canes? Are we going to be bit in the butt again? I'm on the other side of the field. I'm screaming. I think we won. Then I see Virginia Tech running. I think they won. I don't know what's going on. I see on X that they've scored a touchdown. We all see the replay. They said, no way is that a touchdown. He's bobbling the ball. Didn't even think someone's got to be out of bounds. And amazingly, the shock of the world, I know everybody on social media thinks the Canes get every call. Obviously, they don't watch the games. And the Canes survive at 5-0, Brad. And I am feeling jubilation. I'm almost crying in the video. I'm thanking everybody. And just what an amazing day. And we have smiles now, which we would not have if we were doing this show without it. So, Brad, that's my story. What's yours?
I don't know if I could beat that story. I mean, you pretty much summed up everything within a minute and 15 seconds. Literally every little detail possible, you kind of threw into the mix with the excitement from beginning to end. But again, I was on the actual side of the end zone of where the bobble catch was. I was in the corner ends of the end zone with all the parents of the players. I actually have a video on Twitter of X literally 2 rows behind me going into the stands after the game finished and going up to seeing his dad and mom and others. But wow, you hit it on the head, right? 38-34, big time victory for Miami over Virginia Tech. This was the first ACC opponent in conference play. We all knew going into this game, Virginia Tech was definitely an opponent that we can't overlook. You talk to past players that played for Miami. This is a rivalry within the two that is always, a close type of game. And you saw it right to the end, right? There was a lot of calls that didn't go Miami's way. There was a lot of calls that did go Miami's way. There was a lot of calls that were missed on both sides, right? And you mentioned the game of Georgia Tech just a year ago. We talk about the missed opportunity of Chaney being called down on that crucial play that ended up being a fumble, right? And ultimately ended up in not us needing the football. We got into a very close, similar situation this past Friday where it relied a little bit on the referees. But at the end of the day, you mentioned Cam Ward, a lot of big plays on defense, a lot of big plays on offense, which we'll get into as well, and a lot of hustle plays that I think that were very overlooked, whether it was special teams, whether it was guys going from one end of the field to the other to stop an interception from going to a touchdown. This last Friday, I mean, you were at the game. I was at the game. This was top 3, one of the best experiences I've ever had at the Hard Rock Stadium. You brought up, 2017 against this same Virginia Tech team in 2017, where you had not only Virginia Tech, but Notre Dame back-to-back weeks at the Hard Rock, which I was at as well. Those two in this game this past Friday were the best 3 games I've ever experienced in that stadium. The chills, the excitement going to the end. It was a great game. And you talk about battling adversity against South Florida for maybe 5 or 6 minutes in a quarter. First time ever trailing in a football game Well, guess what? In this football game, we trailed for most of the football game.
Mhm.
And we came through adversity. If there was one word that kind of defined this whole game, it was adversity. We went through it every single snap, whether it was on offense and defense. And man, big ups to this football team for getting it out and getting this W.
No, amazing. And the fact that you say adversity is key because you have to face adversity. Every team faces adversity. If you don't face adversity, if you're winning every game big and it's always easy, it's going to be that much tougher. So this team fought hard. They came back. Like you said, I was glad to see against USF, but then I was really glad to see it this game. And I've been saying for years, and I said it before the Florida game, that we need players that are going to say, I will not lose. I will not lose. The Michael Irvins, the Ed Reeds, and all those players in the past, the Al Blades. I mean, just any of those players. I will not lose. I will do whatever it takes to win. And we had so many players doing that in this game. And that's been the difference, in my opinion, of the Hurricanes in the past. We haven't been able to get over the hump. It's just we had not only Cam Ward, like I said, that Restrepo catch, which is unbelievable. I mean, the pitch to Williams had to be there. Just so many different plays that we had, offense and defense, to make a difference, and that was key. But those three guys, especially X and Cam, to make that play and that drive, and others as well. It just there wasn't a person in that team that probably thought we were going to lose this game. They probably all thought we were going to win that game, and that's a testament to the coaching staff. You got to give them all the kudos. Everybody loves to blame the coaching staff when things aren't going good. Mario's this, Mario's that. But when it's going good, they got to get some props.
I completely agree. And speaking of props, I mean, we got to give props to all of our viewers and fans that are tuned in and watching the show right now currently. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe button for us. And fans, hit us in the chats in the comments so we could see who you think your big-time player was this past Friday against Virginia Tech, because there was a lot of big-time plays that I think really took this game to where we ended up getting this 38-34 point lead and ended up getting this win. But going back to the word adversity, right? I mean, I think Cane fans need to take a step back and really realize us, for one, being the only game on Friday, all the lights were on us, right? We kind of knew this was going to be like the Super Bowl for Virginia Tech, but we already knew before the season even started that this was a Virginia Tech team that had 20 of 22 starters coming back and were one of the preseason ACC candidates to potentially win the ACC. So even though Virginia Tech had 2 losses under their belt going into this matchup, this staff and this team knew that this was still going to be a big-time game, and we saw it to the very end. There were some big-time players that stepped up for Virginia Tech that really kept this game close. But again, going back to us playing on Friday, right, getting out that win, the ones that were able to experience that ultimate win, like me and you, Brett, you saw Saturday, there were teams like Ole Miss who lost to Kentucky. You had Utah who lost to Arizona. You had a team in Michigan that barely beat Minnesota. Notre Dame the previous week lost to Northern Illinois, right? College football, these things happen. And there were so many games last year that we lost on one play or on one series. And we saw this year so far, we dominated every game. And unfortunately, sometimes in college football, you're going to have close football games. It's up to the staff and how great your players are, to going back to what you said earlier, Brett, of how much the will to overcome adversity through moments and want to do whatever it is possible to win that football game. And we were on the right side of things this game against Virginia Tech that led us to this victory, along with a lot of great plays that we're going to break down and talk about. But I think one thing in particular, Brett, that me and you both agreed on before the game, going back to the live podcast that we did at the store. If you didn't check that out, make sure you go back and watch it. But we both agreed that the rushing attack from Miami, we thought was going to be really huge in this game, right? We knew that Virginia Tech had a very, at least solid secondary on defense, and they had one guy in particular that could rush the quarterback. But other than that, we thought this would be the game that the running would actually capitalize. Well, it ended up being the opposite, right? Our rushing attack wasn't the best. If I'm not mistaken, it was second worst of the season with 165 rushing yards total. I think our first against Florida week one with only 144. I think one of the most glaring things that really, hurt us at the beginning of the game against Virginia Tech was our defense just wasn't able to get it together. Whether it was stopping the run on big plays from the running back Tootin, who we knew going into this game is a big play guy, or just a guy in Kyron Drones who ended up getting pressured, I think, like 31 out of 33 times, and he didn't get sacked once. Like that's unheard of, right? So having a guy like him to have that wiggle to get around some of our pass rushers that couldn't get a sack, along with playmaker guys that were able to capitalize for Virginia Tech in the first half, I think that's really what started that huge lead, unfortunately, for VT. But all in all, we got things together, and we were able to shut things down in the second half, which is a Lance Guidry special so far this season.
Absolutely, absolutely. I got some points too, but Cliff, welcome Uncle Cliff to the show. How you feeling, Cliff?
What's up, guys? How are you?
Doing outstanding. We're recapping the game. We're talking about, being in suspense and slow motion and everything. What were your feelings on the game? How did you feel personally about what was going on and about the play on the field?
My daughter had her senior night up here, so we were walking across the field and doing all that kind of stuff. So my son was home again. We were watching on the phone, and it started out the way it did, and I was like, at halftime, we're out of here. So we get home, we're watching the game, and I think I had 3 heart attacks watching the game. And my son was going crazy, and we were throwing stuff. It got ugly for a little while, and a lot of guys wide open all over the field for Virginia Tech. I was like, what the hell's going on? But we never got our hands on Drones at all. We never got our hands on him. Crazy. That guy was elusive as anything, and crazy thing. And he got to give him credit. He hit all his open guys down the field. His eyes were down the field the whole time, and it's hard to cover when you're back in the secondary for 10, 15 seconds. Guys running around. It's hard to you don't get to the quarterback, you have problems. So I think that was probably the biggest problems, that we never got our actual hands on him, and things like that. The end, I mean, I was trying to tell my son, I said, Connor, there's no way that the guy's laying out of bounds on our team. He touched the ball. The ball should be dead. And then when they called a touchdown, I was like, there's no way they're giving it to us, bro. This is 20 years of them doing this crap. There's no way. So when they came back on and said it, we jumped up, we were hugging. It was like we won the damn ACC championship or the national championship. We were going crazy.
Yeah.
So.
No, I agree. I think the only game that I can recall, there's been others, that it was a big game that we didn't get the shaft, was the lateral play.
Yeah.
That was a play that we got, like, everyone thought that it should have been called one of the great plays, and this is an instant classic also. But going back to your points, Brad, about the game, the way it was unfolding. I mean, we obviously started off with the Cam fumble, which wasn't a fumble in my opinion, but we'll give him that one.
I didn't think that play was a fumble either. I don't know.
I didn't think so. I didn't think so either. But we're up 14-7. We're about to go into the end zone, 21-7. Who knows what happens at that time? Because when you're playing a team like this, you need to take the will out of them. Not to say they can't come back, because this is a rivalry. I mean, this is a huge rivalry game. Besides rivalry, the Hurricanes and Virginia Tech, we were both independents. We both moved to the Big East. We both moved to the ACC. I mean, we've been joined at the hip. The Michael Vick days and before. But when that play happened and it turned around so fast, the game, all right, and then it's 14-14. These guys were shell shocked, and Cam's dad was telling me that Cam was telling the team before the game, the whole week, don't rush. If we rush this guy too hard, he's just we got to wait for him to come aboard. I'm pretty sure he told me that. So, and that's cool. This guy was elusive as any quarterback I've seen. He was amazing. And I'm sure he also had a chip on his shoulder, because they've got the same quarterback coach, right? Who Brad interviewed the other day on the CanesWear podcast.
No, I haven't yet. We're going to release it soon. We're going to release it soon.
Oh, releasing it soon. Was that Tim Thomas?
No, it wasn't. It was Daryl.
Okay, well, there you go. Well, see, that's why I got Brad, thank goodness. But Brad's going to do it on the daily CanesWear podcast for Brad to hate it, and make sure you follow that every day for the most inside information you can get anywhere. Brad, obviously, Cam is close with his cousin, very close, and they have the same quarterback coach, so there's a lot of family pride there. So this kid came up big, because people are saying, how'd this team lose those other games and they played like us? it just goes to show you when there's a rivalry and it means extra something to these kids,
different.
they're going to play better. The same thing with Florida State. Let's not expect them to lay down when we play them, even if they're one in if whatever they are at the time. So that's my thoughts on this game. The 21-7 almost, and then we went ahead and then everything almost imploded until we finally turned it around. So that's my thought. And there was some big plays in the game, but I'll let you two talk about that more, and we'll find out our biggest plays of the game. I already know mine. That had nothing to do with Cam. So I'm sure you all have that same play as well. So
yeah, you brought up Cam and Kyron's quarterback coach Daryl Colbert, who I'm going to be interviewing here on the CanesWear podcast. So make sure you check that out. And to your point, it was an interesting thing that you said about what Cam's dad, was able to talk to you about how, this was a different opportunity that I don't think you're going to see the rest of the year, where, people on the outside looking in, whether you're a Hurricane fan or just a media perspective or anyone else, you're trying to figure out how Cam Ward does these things, right? Mm-hmm. How he's capable of, at no matter what, like he's never rattled, whether it's at the highs or the lows, he's just cool, calm, and collective. And he's just that guy when you're needing the most. But if there is one person out there that does know who Cam Ward is on and off the field and his tendencies, it's Kyron Drones, who's his cousin, right? And these are two guys that are very familiar with each other's game, along with Shedeur Sanders. They all, train together in the offseason with Daryl Colbert. So I think this was one of those games and opportunities where I think both quarterbacks were able to kind of give some insight to their defense and kind of key in on some things that I don't think other defensive teams probably didn't look for leading up to this game or even knew about, right? So, but to what you were saying earlier about your key plays or things overlooked, right? There were so many things overlooked. You talked a little bit earlier, right, about how Miami's always been on the terrible end of penalties and flags, things not going into our advantage. I brought up the Don Chaney fumble against Georgia Tech last year, right? But there was a play before half that is out there, if you see it on Twitter, that Virginia Tech had a field goal, and there was no call on the field for two number 17s on the football field.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's actually a video that has surfaced today of Virginia Tech's head coach being asked about this in the presser, and he did not shy away from it. Instead, he doubled down on it and said, this is not the first time it's happened. And he would have taken this with the penalty instead of, going back 5 yards for not having 10 men on the field or actually, no, having 10 men on the field and having the opportunity of someone actually blocking that field goal and others. So he actually knew that they had two number 17s on the field. And the fact that they got away with it the second time, and he knew that, hey, karma, right?
Did he use the word we cheated, but you guys can't say anything because you got the call at the end? I thought he said that. I didn't see the whole interview, but basically he said, hey, we got away with one. I don't know if he said the word cheated, but Daniel, thanks for joining us. Good luck on your podcast.
Yes, yeah, Danny Boy Kane, man. Awesome listener and fan, one of the biggest fans out there. Shout out to Danny Boy Kane.
Yes, sir.
But going back to some other plays like overlooked, or penalties, right? You had the Markel Bell holding call when Cam Ward connected to Jacoby George on that touchdown. That was another crucial play where if you really look back at it, I don't really think he held on that one as well. I think the special team, right?
Supposedly we got the call on the other interception or so that we got to go, or the run. I don't know, it wasn't an interception. It was a long run or so that we got the call on that one, supposedly, which, I'd like to see them miss both ways, but didn't seem like they were getting any holding calls at all. That one was like a phantom one, but they were not getting called for a lot of penalties. It seemed like they were holding our guys.
Would you guys agree that this was probably the best special teams performance we've had all year, between Malik Bryant on the block, extra point, Chris Johnson's return, and Andy Borregales, shout out to him and the fam, on that 56-yard field goal?
Exactly. Cliff?
Yeah, no, I think this is definitely our best special team game. I think that before that was like the only part lacking in the other 4 games. This game, they really stepped up and did. Malik Bryant with a humongous, probably the special teams player of the year so far. And then you have, Andy kicking, a couple bombs, and then Johnson's return. I don't think we've had all those three, fast.
We had the fake field goal, right? That was the Brian. Was that the Brian play? The fake field goal that we stopped, which was crazy for them to go for it, I thought. But I was saying every time they're kicking the field goal, watch out for the fake. They're known for fakes, but not that I could tell the team that. But sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. He tried to go ahead and, he would have got that field goal. We'd be crying about the 2-17s because they would have kicked the field goal down the game. The whole game, we'd be saying that if that would have been the difference in winning and losing, can you imagine how upset us Canes fans would be right now?
Yeah. You mentioned the difference between winning and losing, but I think people need to go back and look. I mean, it's everywhere on media right now. And Elijah Arroyo kind of gave himself a shout out. I was like, hey, I need my speed change after this clip, right? But Elijah Arroyo's hustling play of making that saving interception touchdown, going from one end of the field to the other, almost diagonal. Like he ran like 115 yards on that. And he looked like
he was at the other end. For him to not just going, that is one of the great plays. I don't know where they rank that. Obviously, they have the X play and the Riley Williams play, but that's another play they could have gone and put on there as one of the top plays. Just for him to run him down, I mean, that was phenomenal. That's the play I was referring to. That's just a no quit. Here's a guy that I cannot even believe he came back. He was here for whatever reason. He wasn't playing. In this day and age of kids saying, I don't care, I'm going somewhere else, he stuck with the program. He believed in it, and he's doing phenomenal on offense, and obviously on that offense turning to defense. That was just a sensational play. They need to show that at the beginning of every single practice, I think.
And you know what the crazy thing about is that's how you see in a program the culture change.
Of course, good point.
The last 10 years or so, there's no way that kid would have got the midfield and said, "Screw it, I'm done."
Mm-hmm.
Yep, it's the same thing.
He would have tried it, and he would have said something would have gone wrong. He would have got there and not been able to make. But the fact of what he did, my dad would always say, "I'd say, I can't believe it. We lost this team. We almost won in whatever sport it was." He says, "The good teams always find a way to win," and they do.
Yep.
The good teams find. When we played Florida State a few years back, and it seemed like they had Winston and they had Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook would always make some play to beat us, and they were much more talented than us at that time. They'd always find a way to beat us. They were a better team. It's about time when the University of Miami was dominating college football, they'd find a way to win those games. Boston College, even in the championship year. So that's what we need. That's all about culture, like you say. They believe inside. And with a leader like Cam Ward, I mean, his dad also told me, he says, ever since Cam's been a kid, he is, he would play to he has always taught, play to the zeros. So you play, and you could see his confidence. He never wavered. You never thought we were a heck of a lot more nervous than he was, thankfully.
Yeah, it's true. That's a whole culture change. That's elite effort. That's maximum effort for him to do something like that. It's crazy.
And I was glad to see him face adversity. But as we said, he was 3-0 last year, turned around to 5-7. We were 4-0. Our season complete went backwards. I think that fourth game was key. Of course, now the fifth game, the fifth win was key, and now the sixth game is key. It's taken them one at a time, but just I'd say there's been a lot of great games we've all been to and seen. All right. But that game, to me, in the position that we're in and everything, is one of the great King games I can remember.
Nope.
Yeah, like I said before, I mean, this was a game that we trailed most of. I mean, second quarter, 7-minute mark, all the way to the final whistle on that last play. That's when we ended up getting the victory, right? And I think that was, again, going back to the word adversity, that was something that we haven't been challenged with all year. Not to mention, we knew someone like Bashal Tootin, of running back for Virginia Tech, was a playmaker, yet we still couldn't stop him. 19 carries, 141 yards, and a touchdown.
Awesome.
Had the longest play of the whole football game, of a 55-yard play. And going back to Mario's presser, he talked about when you really turn on the tape, the effort was awesome. Effort was there. That's what won us the football game, right? Effort, going through adversity. But when you really turn on the tape, the little fundamental things, the things that they teach you from Pop Warner all the way to college, right? Just the little small things, holding your block, making the right read, the adjustments that need to be made. Those little things, is what hurt Miami this game and really what kept them behind most of the game. And those are the little things that they're going to have to work on against Cal, who we'll talk about later on. But, I think at the end of the day, Lance Guidry, he made the adjustments needed against Virginia Tech. As bad as our defense played in the first half, he only gave up 10 points in the second half. I think, some of the guys in the secondary really got a little bit abused in this football game. I think we really need to step it up a notch. Other than that, I think we had 21 missed tackles this football game.
Good point. It seemed like this was reverting back to the old, for some reason. I don't know if it's elusiveness, but a lot of those missed tackles were on the quarterback, the running back, even the wideouts, 12 and 82. I don't know what their names are, but they were getting open and they were shaking tackles. So that was something that we have to address 100%. So
I think they spread us.
We'll let Mario and the coaching staff address it.
Yeah, they spread us out a little bit and put us in some space where we didn't have, 3 or 4 guys coming. It was, kind of one-on-ones, and they beat us a lot. I think I saw a stat. We had 21 missed tackles.
Yep.
And the 4 previous games, we only had like
22.
Yeah.
22. We had 22 missed tackles in 4 games. We had 21 in just the game against Virginia Tech.
Everything went wrong in this game. Because on your podcast, we were at the store, Brad, we talked about Cam Ward's fumbling. And we said, You said, Brett, you know how many fumbles he's had this year? And I said, and you said, none. Now, I'm not saying we jinxed him, but hey, you know what? We overcame it. We overcame it. So we said we're not missing tackles. They missed tackles. So, everything that could go wrong went wrong in this game, if you really think about it. Okay. But we ended up winning the game, which is the key. That's all that matters to me, because you can dominate a game and you can lose. But I think what you said just, Cliff, about the adjustments, the second half, every single game we've outplayed the other team in the second half. We've adjusted so well. And that, to me, is the best thing about what Mario and the staff are doing, because we weren't adjusting last year. The teams were coming on us. They were catching us. So, and that's, a huge step in the right direction.
The last, 5-6 years, that would have never happened. It would have been flip-flop. We'd have been better in the first half, and in the second half, they would have made adjustments and kicked our butt in the second half. That's how it usually went. Now it's vice versa.
Listen, I mean, Cam Ward, I'll take the one fumble, because at the end of the day,
of course,
I mean, there's not too many other guys in the country you want on your team leading the charge than Cam Ward. I mean, we saw guys like Patrick Mahomes tweeting out, the magical stuff that Cam Ward was doing, right? So you got other players around the league, even the best quarterback in the NFL currently, giving a shout out to Cam Ward. And this is a guy that, he had a fumble. He had 2 interceptions, but he also went 24 of 38 for 300+ yards and 4 touchdowns.
No doubt about it. And guys like Patrick Mahomes, he's always making mistakes. People say all the time, I can't believe he threw that ball. I can't believe he fumbled. He's trying to do too much at times, which is a great thing. Hey, in the end, Patrick Mahomes may not play a perfect game, but if there's anybody in football you want to be your quarterback for any game besides Cam Ward, I mean, I'd say Cam Ward's 1A. We're going to get 1B. We're going to give 1A to Patrick right now. And I love in that interview when they said about, and he said, oh, he's a Texas boy and everything like that. So I'm just deciding, do we start the suck for Cam yet for the Dolphins? But that's another story. We'll carry that on. So I don't know if McDaniel would draft him. So they already got 2. Anyway, we won't address that right now. So let me just, guys, bring up the whole CanesWear. Like Brad said, he was at CanesWear the other day. It was packed for Friday. We had an awesome day, a lot of excitement for the game on Friday night. Thursday and Friday, Saturday and Sunday. It was a great weekend at the store. We're getting so much cool stuff in. We got all the Adidas polos in. We just got all the quarter zips in today, which are awesome. We're putting them up. A lot of people have been hitting us about those sneakers. You got those Alpha Boosts. Great news. We're hoping they're going to ship today or tomorrow. We'll have them in store for next week. We have 400 pair coming. We normally go a little bit bigger. Well, 400 is still the most anywhere. So we have 400 pair coming. So we're excited about that. We'll announce that soon. We got the great black jersey in, the number 24 black jersey, which is probably the best jersey I've ever seen Adidas make. That is awesome. We have the new 24 tonal jersey, orange, which is phenomenal as well. A lot of great T-shirts coming in. We got the hats in this week. We've got the 47 brand hats coming in. The CanesWear jersey collection. I mean, it is flying off. We've got white, we've got black, we've got orange, we've got green. We're gonna have kids in next week as well. It's just so many things right now at the store. And last year we had so much also. And I said, okay, we're 4-0. As we got more than anybody. As long as we keep winning, we're good. So that's it. So when I'm sitting in the stands, and as a fan forever, I've been a fan forever. Otis Anderson is my first player that I remember. And there were a lot of other great ones way back when. And but now as a fan in the stands, I feel like the weight of the world. And Jeff saying, who's my manager, is like, we can't have good things because we have so much stuff as long as the Canes win. So I'm thinking as a fan, but I'm also thinking as we got a business here and we just got in 20 pallets of Miami Hurricanes items. And we know when we're winning, it's a drug. I mean, everybody has to have more. You know, you want to have more. So, Brad, you got a couple of good things this weekend, right? At the store?
Yes, I did. I got a few things. I got me an orange 1 jersey. I got me a green Sebastian shirt. I got my my kids some stuff as well. And then also I'll be gearing up and getting me some Alpha Boost shoes, another CanesWear jersey for me and the kids as well. Man, I can't wait. I'll be getting a bunch of stuff. So the fans better hurry up and grab some because if not, I'm going to get the rest of it. So I honestly can't wait. I'm looking forward to going shopping, right? And to your point, you know, you sitting in the stands and just really enjoying this moment. I think all fans need to enjoy this, right? Don't look too far ahead of, you know, obviously we only have CanesWear for 1 year, right? But you also got to enjoy the moment while you can because this doesn't come at very often, right? There's not a CanesWear that's there every year in college football, let alone be the quarterback for the University of Miami. So enjoy the moment. Get as much CanesWear merchandise as you can at CanesWear or CanesWear.com, whether if you can't be in the store or not. And guys, you got to realize this, right? We are Miami. We are the U. If we are on path what we think is going to happen, right? Going to the ACC championship, winning the ACC, being a playoff team, hopefully getting to the big stage. CanesWear leaves. Do you really think that Mario Cristobal and the outside of just University of Miami program from a football state of mind, what they're building as far as for the future of dorms and facilities for this football program, having a guy like CanesWear at quarterback and seeing what you can potentially have this football season, do you really think that they wouldn't be capable of doing exactly what they did this past year and diving into the transfer portal yet again and getting that big time guy? Because I'll tell you this, I don't know about y'all, but if you lease a Aston Martin or a Ferrari for a year and you drive it and you look out the windows and you start getting some waves that you probably weren't getting before and you enjoy it for a year, maybe you got some more money in your pocket, maybe you start enjoying life a little bit for a year. When that lease is up, you're going to go back in that Honda Civic or you're going to go out and lease you another nice car, right? And that's exactly what Miami's going to do. As long as this ride is exactly what we enjoy, we're going to be all right. So just enjoy the ride. Mondo, what's up, man?
It was a great segue because we got the Aston Martin. We got the Aston Martin Rolls Royce of Twitter X fans. We got Mondo, the selfie god himself.
I've got a family Hyundai parked out front. You better slow your roll down with that. What's up, fellas?
What's up, man?
We are just.
Well, I know Brad was there. I think I saw Michael Irvin, the tweets and all that today. I'm sure you guys recapped it a bit. I'd love to have jumped on earlier, but these kids, man, they're just crazy. But what an atmosphere! The last 15 minutes in that stadium was like something maybe out of a movie because it went from, I would say about 90% you're going to win the game to, did that referee just say touchdown?
Yep.
And those were the longest 2.5 minutes waiting because all of us in the crowd were like,
2.5 minutes? It felt like an hour. It was only 2.5 minutes.
I'm just estimating, but
that felt
imagine
like
it felt like, oh my God, this is GT all over again. Are you kidding me? And then when that referee said like, yeah, oh my God, what a feeling! Like unbelievable.
I know
game.
because you knew he was getting on there. It's like they're never going to overturn this call. They're never going to overturn this.
No.
Call. The TV's saying it's definitely not a touchdown, but they're not going to overturn it. It's going to be hard to overturn it. And they got it right. And they definitely got it right.
Brett.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you saw Saturday with Ole Miss losing to Kentucky, you saw Utah losing to Arizona. Hey,
Yep.
man, a win is a win is a win. And whatever, they went down to number 8 in one of the polls, whatever. You still got that goose egg in the loss column. So
That's right. That's
job
all.
well done.
That's all that matters. I don't. Who cares?
Yep.
We're ranked. Just keep winning games. Is all that matters. And like Brett said
Exactly.
earlier, that only happened that we got a call overturned and got it our way from when since the knee was down versus the lateral game. You know what I'm saying? That's the last.
Oh my goodness.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the last time that something like that we got turned our way. And how many years ago was that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was a while ago. Thank you. It was
10
Thanksgiving.
years ago?
Exactly.
Years ago? I don't know. It was a long time ago. So
No, that was a while ago. So we don't get too many calls. And like you said, the 4-0 shock, we talked about Mondo. Last year, 4-0, we're cruising along, and the excitement, the energy. We didn't play well that game, by the way. But we still, at the end of that game, I remember saying, Georgia Tech, I'm saying, you know what? I'm going to be so happy that every Cane fan is going to be pissed off on social media saying, we should have blown. We were lucky to win this game. And I'm going to say, but we're 5-0. And then we're not. So now we are 5-0. So, Mondo, any other takes? We talked about Arroyo's amazing play, running him down. Xavier's great catch, obviously. Cam leading the team. What else do you have on the game that you think may be something that you noticed that others didn't?
Well, I will. So I'm sure others noticed it, but going forward, especially this game coming up and the bye week after, granted, yeah, I'm talking about the win, but I don't know what the percentages would be, but generally when you turn the ball over 3 times and you give up 200 plus rushing yards, you're not winning that game more often than not, obviously. So very fortunate. And also, I know we've had injuries up front. We mentioned the trenches last week. Ward was running for his life pretty much all night. Because I saw him, even on that pass to Riley Williams at the end, he was under siege. So I don't know so much if it was the VT scheme, if it was our O-line, but there was stuff went down in that game that you hadn't seen all season. So I'm pretty sure Mario, coach, and the staff is on them big time at practice this week to shore up numerous things that occurred. Obviously, fluky stuff. Ward threw a couple of red zone like picks. You hadn't seen that all year either. So got to tighten up. But thrilled with the win. But cannot go into Cal, taking them lightly. We're about a 11, 13-point fave. They're going to want to beat us. They lost to FSU by 3. They're not a bad. I mean, obviously they're not a top 25 team, but I mean, we're not playing, sisters of the poor either. So got to go out there and get a W, obviously.
it's that line started at Canes minus 13. Now it's Canes minus 10.
Yeah.
Went down 3 points, which is
Well, I like
it. They got something fishy going on over there, right? Like we all found out that Miami Cal was college game day out of all places. First time ever being at Cal, right? I don't think most people really talk about Cal unless you're Aaron Rodgers, Marshawn Lynch, or Deshaun Jackson fans, because this is a program that's been around since like 1937 or like 1919, and they got 5 national championships like Miami, but the last one was like in the 1940s. So
I didn't realize that. Joe Rose played, I think, there too, Cal. So,
oh, really? He did?
Yes.
Oh, that'll be an interesting one of Joe Rose.
Right. That'll be cool if you get on there. So now you know it. So you say, hey, and he's a Canes fan, so it's going to be interesting. But it's funny. This is, we know, if you're not complaining about something on social media, then you're just not there. And everybody was 10:30 game. How dare them? And I'm thinking it's national TV for 7:30 for them. This is great for recruiting. The West Coast is seeing this at their time, so it's not a late game for them. It's perfect. And the fact that game day is going to be there from 9 a.m. that's 9 a.m. Eastern time, right?
Yeah.
Is that to 9 a.m. Eastern time to like 12 p.m. Eastern time? It's like, wow, what a long day. If you're a student, you want the experience. It's I think Brad, you said that, or somebody said that earlier.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's going to be. I'm excited as can be that we're game day. But you're right. What do they got planned for us? What kind of hiccups do they have? So, and we have the bye week the next week. So,
and you talk about all that time too, Brad. I think people also need to realize this was a close game against Virginia Tech, and I'm not making this as an excuse or a reason why some guys, especially y'all mentioned the offensive line. I can definitely agree that this was probably the worst game for some of those offensive linemen, and I expect them to be a lot better. But you got to also remember this. We just played a South Florida team that was pretty physical in the trenches, and you had a short week going into Virginia Tech.
True.
So your amount of rest compared to the amount of rest you are now about to get leading into this Cal game, and then to your point, Brett, having a bye after that, this is going to be a good 2 weeks for Miami to really, focus on some certain guys of getting them the proper rest, along with guys getting back into shape. Right? You saw a guy in Elijah Austin that was a little banged up against Virginia Tech. Let's see what happens with him. But we do have Ruben Bain coming back officially for the University of Miami against Cal. So when you lose one, you gain another, right? So that's what you like to see. You're going to finally see that potential of a Greg Russo, Jalen Phillips that you always wanted to see at the same time. You may finally be able to see that for a full football game this upcoming weekend with, a Tyler Barron and a Ruben Bain. And that's going up against a Cal offensive line that is probably one of the worst offensive line in the country this year.
I see. I didn't know that about them. I just know it's tough to go. I know Mario said he's leaving a day earlier, but you're right. We played the Bulls in the evening on Saturday night, and then we had to play Friday night. So so if we were to play them at 1 o'clock, we'd have the whole day. But we were on the road. So you're right. We lost a day. We weren't traveling, but traveling to our game, the Friday night game. But you're right. That was difficult.
Yeah.
Injuries and everything like that. I look at this as a rivalry game. Like I said, I look at this as the two cousins or the quarterbacks that his team was going to work their tail off. Okay. To go ahead and beat our team because, they wanted to protect his back and say, hey, look at this. We know Cam's getting all the accolades. I mean, Cam's everywhere. Everybody's drooling over Cam. On ESPN, ABC, everywhere they're talking about Cam. Heisman Trophy, #1 pick, all that good stuff. #1 pick is still 10-1, by the way. But the Armando.
Always got to get the Al Michaels gambling.
So it's that's at 10 o'clock. We got the addiction show. So
Gamblers Anonymous.
They had a lot to prove. So I don't look at this game as we won. This was a really tough rivalry game. A couple of years ago, you remember the game? DJ Jallis went for the touchdown. And they had not won an ACC game. They were they hadn't won a game. I think they won one game, and then it was like the fourth game of the season. They beat us, and they didn't lose again. So these rivalries, these teams come to play. So that's my take on that one.
And VT was coming off a loss as well, if I'm not mistaken, to Rutgers, weren't they?
Yep.
Didn't they?
Yeah.
So as you see in the NFL every Sunday, you're seeing teams that have no business beating better teams. Teams come out motivated. Mario says it every week on his weekly spot on the radio. You don't just show up and expect. Other teams aren't going to just show up and hand you victories.
Exactly. They're there just for.
These other schools have good players as well. They're good coaching. They're highly motivated. So I think that was definitely a lesson last week. Fortunate to get the win, and we'll see. I'm curious to see how they come out this Saturday. And as you know, generally in football, when you're on the road, you tend to focus more. You're not worried about tickets for the fam, and you're not worried about this and that. It's a long flight over there, and I expect a very focused performance. And it was interesting because today I saw the local kid from Miami Columbus as the quarterback over there on their side. So that adds a little intrigue to the game as well.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I saw him, and he said, "I'm not going to throw down the U. I'm not going to be a." He went to the camp with when Manny was here. He went to So what do we know about this Cal team? I know very little. Okay. What do my experts know?
Well, like Brad mentioned, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Brad, didn't FSU have 6-7 sacks against them?
Yeah. Right? They have, like I said before, they have one of the most atrocious offensive line in the country this year. So that's, if you're a Miami fan, you're licking your chops with these defensive linemen that we have. But to the other side of that, right? You guys mentioned quarterback Fernando Mendoza from originally from Miami Columbus. This guy only has 892 yards, 5 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. If you look at that from a point of view of having a guy like Cam Ward is literally doubling everything that Fernando has done already through 4 or 5 football games. So that just goes to show you the dynamic player that Cam Ward is compared to who we're going up against. But to the contrary of that, when you really dig deep into this when you really dig deep into this Cal offense, they do a lot of stuff where they spread you out, and they're going to do a lot of screen and quick passes. So going back to the Virginia Tech game, I think it was Mondo or Clip that mentioned it. They did a good job at spreading guys out to where you really had to make sure you tackled in space, which we did a terrible job at. So we got to make sure we do that this game against Cal.
I think the gentleman in the chat was just mentioning that I believe he said that Cal leads the nation in picks at 10. Is that right?
Yes, they have 10 interceptions currently, and their cornerback Noel Williams, who's actually probably the best cornerback that we'll face all year. He has 1 interception every football game so far.
Wow,
Yeah,
spectacular.
I've watched parts of 2 of their games, and they have a good secondary. Like Brad said, the O-line is not very good. But the best thing that I see, that Mendoza kid is nowhere near as elusive as Drones is. We could never get a hand on Drones. This kid's a big kid. He's slower. He's not going to be able to run around and make plays like Drones did last week for Virginia Tech. So that's a good thing for us. We got to put him to the ground. We need 5-6 sacks this game, maybe 7 sacks. That'd be great.
And their running backs are kind of running back by committee, very similar to how Miami's approach has been so far through 5 games. They don't have the star power or the big-time guys that Miami has, but they do know how to utilize them. It's just they haven't really had as many touchdowns and as much productivity as Miami's had through 4 or 5 football games. This is a team that really only averages probably 20 to 25 points each football game. And if you want to know more about this Cal football team, right after this show, at 9:15, I will be having Rob Huang, writer for Cal, who's also the co-host for the Golden Bear cast. Will be right after this at 9:15. So me and him will break down the Cal football game, and we'll dive into specific guys that we need to watch against this matchup leading into Saturday night. Obviously, first time college game day. But besides those 2 guys, they do have a wide receiver in Nijah Hunter. He has 4 touchdowns. Out of 5 receiving touchdowns for the whole football team. So like I mentioned before, this is an offense that productive-wise isn't very close to Miami as far as many guys getting touchdowns and receptions. But if there is a guy to circle, it's got to be Nijah Hunter, because they only have 5 total receiving touchdowns so far this season, and he's got 4 of them. So that's a guy to watch out for.
Yeah, Jacoby just said in the comments that they had 7 sacks, so we were right. There's Florida State had 7 against them.
Hey, Cliff, after that Brad breakdown, you want to go grab a beer? You want to get out of here?
The only thing, I'm not good like that, but yeah, we can get some Union flights going.
No, I look forward to watching that after this one, the 9:15 for sure.
Yeah.
Everybody should tune in for real.
Exactly. I do know Cal. I saw today that Cal, their defense only gives up 12.3 points a game, though. Wow. That shocked. That I didn't. I think they're like number 12 in the nation in points per game or something like that. I saw. So that's
now. Who have they played? Have they played anybody? Who have they beaten? I haven't even.
So they beat at Auburn team early in the season. That was a pretty big time win. But then obviously, like Mondo said, they're coming off a bye and a 14-9 loss against FSU, who we all know is one of the worst teams in college football.
They had that. Didn't they miss a couple of field goals?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they had opportunities, so all right. I don't know if it's good that FSU finally got their win, or not that we would have been upset if they would have lost every game, but
they're 3-1.
Well, you know what? Before the year, I thought obviously, and still do, that at Louisville is going to be tricky. But now, the more I hear Brad now, and then about the Auburn and all that, I think this Saturday is interesting. It's a really interesting.
This is a 10:30 night game. We're getting there probably Thursday. I mean, we probably would have got there Friday. Normally, we're getting there Thursday. I'm glad that Mario is doing that. I saw Derek Coe got there already, so he's laying the groundwork for everybody, making sure it's all good. No, so it's going to be exciting. So I don't know what to expect. I will say that I predicted 38-13 on this game, and it was 38-34. I ended up 38, and everybody said only 38, and I said I was going to stick with it because I was lucky. And there was a time in that game, early fourth quarter, that I'm saying, I hope they score 30. I was thinking if they could just go 38-34, because at that time you're saying, wow, I just hope they score in the 30s.
Brett, there's nothing like the excitement of being down, 34-31, and your favorite team of life is down by 3, and the over-under's 35.5. Dude, when he scored that little touchdown to Horton, I was like,
oh man, I tell you what, guys. Like you mentioned Horton, Mondo, and people are going to overlook one part of the game, which was obviously at the end. People didn't realize that number 43 was actually Isaiah Horton out there.
Yesterday. I didn't know.
Yeah, for the jump ball on that.
Yep.
That's something that Lance
Yep.
Guidry and the team's been working on between him and Riley Williams. But the play that they made in the red zone, they took that from Kansas City Chiefs when they won the Super Bowl back-to-back years. The setup, I mean, shout out to Josh Darrow, I believe, because he's the one that put this up on Twitter. But they have a live video of him going in motion on that play action of Cam Ward for that final touchdown to take the lead. And you see Isaiah Horton literally run full speed as if he's about to get the perfect block to give Damian Martinez or Mark Fletcher, I don't know who it was at running back, to seal that win and get that nice 1-yard touchdown, right? And when he ran full speed and hit that e-brake to go back to get that touchdown, that corner that was on him was literally in the dirt, dusted. There was nobody around him because of the setup. Great play by Isaiah Horton. So shout out to him. Mondo, you reminded me of that, man. That was a great play call by Coach Dawson as well.
And that's a good point by Darryl, because that is an Andy Reid call for a long time, especially when he had Tyreek Hill. And now you see it with their speed demons over there. When they get down to the goal line, they improvise. That was a hell of a call down there at the goal line.
I couldn't believe how many people I saw say, like, why did we score? Why didn't we just either kick a field goal? So at worst, or wait till the last second. It's like,
what?
I don't know. I mean, I would read things like that. It's like, even if we would have kicked the field goal, at least we're going to overtime. Why give them a chance to win? And I'm thinking, like, you score a touchdown when you can score a touchdown. It's like when people say they score too fast. You know what? Score as soon as you can, because plenty of times you can go 4 downs from the 1-yard line. You can get a penalty. You can get a fumble. Anything can go wrong. So just score, baby.
That's another. That's another.
This was a game where we were on the right side of things. Not only when it came to last calls and penalties and whatnot that changed the outcome of games, but the head coach of Virginia Tech. There were a lot of head scratching moments throughout the game that really, if you really go back and if you would have just made the right logical call, this would have been a game where I don't think Miami would have won at the last second at all because of some of the bonehead opportunities. And I mean, we're going up against a Cal team now and a head coach that he's been around since 2017, and he's got a 38-43 record and only 3 bowl wins. Wow. Oh, well, let's see what happens with these head coaches against Mario.
How many bowl wins does he have?
3 bowl wins since 2017.
Well, that's 3 times as many as us.
I hate being
20,000. Since 2003. Since 2003, we've won 1 bowl. 2006, we've won 1 bowl game since then. So,
to Brad's point, hindsight's always 20/20. But I thought a big play also was they returned that pick a long way. The fake field goal. Virginia Tech was. You kick a 3 there. The guy made a 50+ yarder before the first half ended. Take the 3. You're in full control of that game. What are you doing with a fake? For that, you just go for it then. Fake field goal?
They love to do their fakes.
That was terrible. Like, that was on their part.
And they make it. They ice the game. They're up by at that time. Yeah. So, but I agree. The momentum swung. We came down and scored on that drive, didn't we?
No,
we went
and also
yards.
that few people also discussed at the end of the first half that huge kick return and that Borregales 50 that bomb hit. Without that kick return, you're going to the half down in the dumps. But that was a big pick me up as well.
Yep. We talked about it earlier, but between Malik Bryant's blocked field goal, Andy's 56-yard field goal, and then the long return by Chris Johnson, like you mentioned, man, those were huge special team plays. Huge.
Who got him? The kicker?
Say that again.
Who got him? The kicker got him. Chris Johnson, a long kickoff return. He squibbed it, right? It was the penalty, and he squibbed the ball instead of kicking it out of the end zone. Made no sense. Yeah. I mean, why let a guy return it? I mean, that made no sense whatsoever. So,
but you got a bye week coming up next week. I mean, just go all out this week, and then.
Oh yeah, I would
get that just unloaded this week, unleashed this week.
Anything for 6-0. So, what are our predictions in this game, guys?
Oh, real quick, let me ask Brad. Do you know about Rivers coming back? I know Bane's coming back. Anything on Rivers?
I would expect him to be back. Well, who knows what happens? I mean, I don't think this is a team that you really need Rivers back as much as you needed him against Virginia Tech. You're not going to go up against the least pass rusher that you just went up against, but at the same time, if he's healthy, man, you need to let him run. If there's any if there's any thought of you don't think he's 100%, then you don't play him because then you gain an extra 2 weeks, right? This is one of those games. This is one of those games, to Mondo's point, where he brought up you gotta buy next week. If there's any guys on the fringe where you don't want to risk it, then you don't play him, right? And I think Ruben Bain was one of those guys that could have easily got the green light last game, but they didn't want to risk it. And you saw how close you saw how close that game was. And it's like, hey man, you could have got the green light last game. We're gonna go all out this game, like y'all just said. So
after he announced yesterday on his show that Bain would be coming back, it was good to go. He said Jalen is a quote unquote game time decision. So that tells me that with a bye coming next week, it's probably leaning towards not, if like Brad just said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Guys, so one thing. How about McCormick? I mean, he got another. He got the touchdown this week, right? Was it this week or last week? He got it this week, right?
Yep.
And it's just that I got to feel so good for a guy like that, who had the and everyone's saying, why is he around? Why is he around? Why is he here? Everybody that Mario has on this team, he has on this team for a reason. There's no charity here. He is about winning now. So he's got the pieces together. And every time I think I know more than him, I think, what am I, crazy? So what's our predictions for the games, guys? I already know the answer to that.
Go ahead, man.
Crazy or not, we already know the answer. And I can have a lot of people.
Okay, so this one's tricky. I'm gonna stay away from the 50 burger. I've been stuck in the 40s. This is an interesting one to me. Are you gonna ask me for a score? I'll go 37-17. 37-17 is what I'll say.
Okay, I'll go. I'm gonna go 42-24. 42-20. Oh, shout out to my mom too, because she writes these down.
All right.
Okay, well, 37-17, Mom.
And my mom would be like, "Oh, Brett was the closest after the game." I'm like, Mom, you think I care about everything? Crazy.
Thank you, Mom. All right, I'll send the check.
The GOAT.
38-17 Canes.
Wow,
he did the prices right on me. $1.
I'm gonna go 38. I'm gonna go 38 to. I can't decide between 6 and 9. I'm gonna go 38-9 on this one. I don't know if they score a touchdown. I think we dominate them. I would not be surprised. I mean, I think our defense is gonna score some points in this game. I do believe our defense will score 7 to 14 points in this game.
All right, you know what? I'm gonna change my thing. I agree with you as well. I think it's gonna go 38-13. I'm going 38-13.
That's what I picked the last 2 weeks, Brad. Look at that.
I'm going 38-13. 38-13.
I just think that it's, I think our defense, I think we're going to get a couple of picks that, with the amount of pressure, if FSU sacked this guy 7 times, what are we going to do to them? I mean, I don't want to, with Bain and the rest of them, and Bain there. See, even in this game, even just inserting Ruben Bain, who possibly was possibly the best defensive lineman in all of football, college football when he's healthy, as he proved last year as a freshman, that would have been a huge difference. Aaron Barrow, Bain, the Bays, baby.
Triple B.
Now, Brad, would you expect Bain to be like on some sort of quote unquote snap count, or you expect him to get a full arsenal of snaps?
Ready to go. Okay.
All right, good.
I think he's licking his chops, and I don't think Ruben Bain's one of those players very similar to how Brett mentioned Cam Ward earlier about his dad talking about how he's the guy that is going to go 100%. To the clock hits 0, right? I think Ruben Bain, Xavier Strepo, those type of guys, they're just built that way. I don't think there's any ounce of Ruben Bain that if he laces up the cleats, puts on the helmet, and you tell him it's time to play football, there's no letting it off a couple times, right? He's going to go full go.
Yeah, knowing how that kid is, they probably have to shoot him with a trank gun to not let him play if he's ready.
Yes, I agree. I agree with that.
Oh, exactly. He's jonesing to get out there. I mean, I can't. The first series he went out?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. So Brad, tell us real quick what you got this week planned. You got the show coming up now, right? And what other days
we'll be having the Miami First Cal preview right here in the next probably 5 to 10 minutes with Rob Huang. Like I said before, he's the editor, writer for Cal and co-host of the Golden Bear Cast. He's one of the top guys out there on social media that will definitely get you informed of this Cal Bear football program. He'll be around there for College Game Day as well, getting the Cal fan experience. And he's looking forward to a lot of Miami Hurricane fans visiting Berkeley. So make sure you tune in here shortly. And we're going to break down all the players you need to watch. So if you got your book and pen ready and you want to kind of scout this football team, this is going to be one of those episodes you're going to want to watch. And then later on in the week, I should be having an interview with quarterback coach of Kyron Jones, Shador Sanders, and Cam Ward, Daryl Colbert. We'll be sitting down with him and talking about the previous matchup of Kyron and Cam and what he saw between the two, and kind of get a little bit of insight behind Cam Ward and who he is as a person outside of the Miami Hurricane uniform.
Awesome stuff. Awesome stuff. So, you got anything to mention? Are you doing anything this week, Mondo, in any of the shows? Or Cliff, what do you got going on? Anything special?
Oh, just a shout out to my ex, because there's nothing that kid can't do on the field. He's amazing.
Oh yeah, that fourth down catch was like, for the record books, that was crazy.
Bro, if you remember the first catch of the season where he kind of like torsioned his body and came back and caught that pass, and then this pass, I mean, there's like 3 or 4 passes this year that were been insane.
It was good to see that on the national stage, and like I said last week, the way he's playing, forget about all ACC and this and that. He's playing at an All-American level, plain and simple.
Absolutely.
And this guy's back. Well, let me see. Number 4. Can I get it right?
Yeah.
There you go. Good job. There you go. So, all right, guys. Listen, everyone. Thank you for listening in. Thank you for being a part of the show. Were we doing the comment thing this week, Brad, or we didn't even mention it, right?
We didn't even mention it. We'll start it again next week.
Okay, so guys, thank you so much for joining the show. Please like and subscribe. FTSN Network, Fins Talk Sports Network. Evan, thank you for producing the show. Shout out to our boy Bobby. Wishing you all the best, and you and the family. And we're proud to be on the FTSN Network. We're here every Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Brad's here every day. Always can catch Mondo and Uncle Cliff on Twitter, X. And guys, thank you so much. Remember, CanesWear, CanesWear.com. We got 20 pallets of merchandise in. We got the sneakers. We got the jerseys. We got it. It's going to be exciting. We'll be posting, so check us out. And thank you all for joining us. Go Canes. Let's beat California. We're out.
Go Canes, baby.
Okay.
Go Canes. See y'all shortly.